Hey, what's up, y'all? How y'all doing today? This is the first episode of Faux Ghetto Podcast. I'm here with a special guest, my special guest, my mother, Mrs.
Hello.
Christalyn EVE Malone. Um,
Yo.
we want to show y'all the new color line. It's been out for a minute. You know, um, it's named after my mom, Christalyn EVE. She put this thing together. Y'all can go cop that, tap in directly with me on my Instagram. But I want to say Happy Mother's Day to my
Thank,
mom.
thank you, son.
And a wonderful inspiration in my life. Motivation, all them good things. So I decided to let her come on here and give me some input on my growing up, her life, and the things that I didn't get to see on her side and what she had to deal with. So Mom, I want to ask you. First I want to tell you I love you. You know, you've been there for us all our life, me and my brother. And again, I want to tell you Happy Mother's Day. Um, and I kind of I kind of want to go back and know about your history and where you grew up at. Like, so can you enlighten me on that a little bit on where you grew up at and the people?
Well, I grew up. I'm from San Francisco, California. Um, I grew up in Lakeview. I'm from Lakeview, California. Inglewood is what they call it.
Inglewood.
Ingleside. I'm sorry. Let me get that right. It ain't Inglewood. It's
Yeah, they
Ingleside.
will correct you on that too.
It's Ingleside, but Lakeview, California. Lakeview,
So how
California.
was that? Like,
Lakeview.
what was experiences you went through in Lakeview and
Huh.
on that side of town? That's a pretty rough area.
Actually, Lakeview is one of the best areas. No projects, at least we didn't see none. It was more the people always thought we were the air quotes uppity uppities. You know what I mean? Everybody over there lived in homes, and so yeah, we wasn't. It wasn't the rough side, but I guess it's all ghetto when you look at it. Um,
Yeah, that's true.
it was it was pretty. It was a lot going on. You know what I'm saying? It stayed foggy over there for sure. Um, they had a lot going on, especially they had the park.
So the area you grew up in, wasn't really that much killing over there, or that many
Well,
people dying.
yeah, they were dying because all the hoods was fighting each other. For some reason, blacks always wanted to tear each other down, and the hoods was fighting each other. Lakeview was fighting Sunnydale, Sunnydale was fighting Bayview, Bayview was fighting Fillmore, and Fillmore was fighting Lakeview, and they was all well, yeah, they were dying. They were dying. They was pulling each other down. You know what I'm saying? And so,
And
yeah.
and that was like that part of Lakeview, was that like an all black community, all black area?
At that time, it was. At that time, it was all black. You know what I'm saying? Mostly at that time, it was black. Scattered a few Caucasians in there, but now you look at it now, it's all Chinamen. Mm. Boy,
Okay,
how things have changed.
I know that's right. So for the people that don't know, you know, my mother is a Malone,
Yes, I am a
and
Malone.
and that name is pretty popular throughout San Francisco. Um,
Yeah.
I don't really know too much about it like that because I didn't I was still a baby. I wasn't even born when a lot of things took place. And so can you tell us a little bit about the Malone family and the structure and how the family worked?
Well, the first thing people need to understand, there was two Malone families in Lakeview, first of all. And so we were one Malone family and was another Malone family. And a lot of times people got us mixed up, but um, my dad, Herman Malone Sr., um, was a big name in San Francisco. So yeah, he not just Lakeview, but all through San Francisco, Double Rock, Philmont. He had a lot going on in San Francisco. Period. You know what I'm saying? And it went on out through to Oakland, and he was everywhere. You know what I'm saying? And my brother kind of took over that. My
Okay,
brother
okay.
kind of took over that.
So I had a question, which is your dad, which is my grandfather.
Yes,
He wore many hats
yes, he
from
did.
what I know. How many kids did he have? Like how many kids? How many brothers and sisters do you have?
Well, Biologically, he has 13 children.
13?
That's it. 5 girls, 7 boys. Now, other than that, he got a lot of women that he claimed they kids to. So it's a lot of people running around saying they are siblings, but they is his, you know, he got 13 children biologically.
Okay.
That's blood.
And are all of them still here and breathing healthy? Or
Well, yes, all but one. I just lost one brother a couple of years ago. Um, one of my younger brothers, Citrus Malone, was murdered right in front of me. Matter of fact.
right in front of you? How was that experience? Like it's not everybody sees that and have to deal with that and the trauma and the pain and the stress and the.
Well, it was a couple of years ago, but nobody never asked me. Nobody never asked me how I felt about it or what I or anything about it. I even cared about how I felt or what I went through. But it's a heartbreaking thing, and honestly, I don't think I even really dealt with it emotionally. I try to every time it come up in my heart, I try to push it down because I don't think I'm really ready to deal with it, and I try to suppress it because it's not an easy thing to deal with when you see your baby brother killed and there's nothing that you could do about it because you think because he's your younger brother that you're supposed to be the one to protect him, even though he's always been the one to try to protect me. And and then a lot of things that he used to tell me in my head about some of our other siblings keep playing back in my head because I see it now. And he used to tell me some things and I see it now. And I didn't see it then because I would always say they still are brothers and sisters, and but soon as he was gone, it was like I died to them too. So it's just one of them things that I just put God in front of, and I keep pushing.
Mm, I know that's right. So how as far as you know your brother, which is my uncle Citrus, how did you see him? Like, was he a good man? Was he a strong man? Did he protector over his family? Like what was his what do you feel like his motive in life was?
First of all, I'm gonna say this: his heart was big, but he wasn't always the best guy. You know what I'm saying? He had a mean dispensation. He had a mean way of dealing with people. And once he was turned on, he didn't have an off switch.
Mm,
And a lot of people didn't understand how to deal with him. I did. So he could never be mad at me. He could never be mad directly at me because I knew how to deal with him. A lot of people didn't know how to deal with him. So he would they didn't know how to turn him off once he got mad. He used to tell me, he used to always say, "You rather for me to be mad. I'd rather for you to be mad at me than me mad at you." And if you didn't understand him, you didn't understand what he meant. But I knew what he meant.
mm,
And he just wasn't one that you would want to be on your bad side. He just wasn't. And no, he was mean. He was a bully. He was all the bad stuff, but he was all the good stuff too. He was loving, he was caring, he had your back, and I don't care what, if I called him, he would come.
okay.
And a lot of times he was mad at me and I didn't even know it. I'd call him and he'd be like, "What you want?" He'd say something derogatory. I was like, "Oh, we mad today." I didn't know, you know what I'm saying? So, it just all depends. That Gemini showed up sometimes.
Mm.
The Gemini showed up.
Growing up as a kid, I always wondered, did all y'all grow up in the same household? With like, cause it's five of y'all that was under the same roof at one point, right? Or no? 'Cause I'm just, I don't know.
Well, um, in the beginning, it was four of us that grew up in the same house together: Curtis, Herman, Clintus, and me. My father and my mother was married, so we are legitimate. We are his legitimate children. We are
Yeah.
you know. And so, and Citrus is part of the legitimate children because we all got the same mother and father. But when he was born, my dad was locked up. And when my dad got out of prison, Citrus was already born, and him and my mama never got back together again. So he never lived in a house with my dad. So he didn't experience that father and mother living in a house together. So so we all lived in a house together in Lakeview. But yeah, all the rest of them got different mamas, and so
And you know what? That's funny you say that. I'm glad you brought that up. So, Grandpa went to prison. What like what kind of life did he live? Why did he go to prison? Like, do you know why he went to prison?
Yeah, he was a drug dealer.
Well, he was heavy
Got
hitting in
caught
the
up.
streets.
He was heavy hitting in the street, and he got caught up and living that life out there back them days. You know what I'm saying? Him and his brothers ran the streets. Him and his brothers was running the streets, and that's they got caught up. He got caught up.
Did Grandpa do a lot of time in jail?
Uh, yeah, he really didn't. He did about 5. I think he did a 5-year stint.
Oh, 5 years. Yeah, that's a long time.
Well, it could be.
and
Yeah, it
and
all depends on who's looking
so at this time
or
while he
who's
was in
doing it.
jail, how old were you? Do you think? Remember when he went?
I think I was 7 when he went. Cause Citrus, I'm 6 years and I'm almost 7 years older than Citrus. So I was 7 when he went. I was about 13 when he got out.
13. So at 13 years old, like how was your life? Like what were you doing? Like how did you have to survive? Because how was Grandma? Was she there? Was she, you know, did she help you out? Did she hold you down? Was she
Well,
a good parent?
it was rough. My mother. Let me just say this without, nobody nobody lives a perfect life. Nobody has the perfect parents. Nobody have a perfect parent. You know what I'm saying? Um, Everybody has some dysfunction going on, and the streets is where my mother roamed. So she, she did other. We wasn't the priority. She spent more. She spent a lot of time out the house. Put it like that.
Okay, I get it. I get it. So by the age of what, 17, 18, you had to be on your own, or was you feel like you were on your own before that?
By the time, by by the age of 18, I had 2 kids. But yeah.
So at the age of 18, you had me and my brother. Um, how did you survive? How did you take care of us?
Well,
Did anybody help you? Like, was it just
no,
you?
it was just me. You know, one thing I'm thankful for in my life and I'm grateful for is that even though our parents lived the lifestyle that they lived, they hustled the way they hustled, and they did things they did. They did pull us up out the projects before we got old enough to know what the projects was. So we didn't see the projects. We seen homes and houses and nice cars, and so we lived a better lifestyle. Like I said, we came from Lakeview, so we was living in homes, and we had refrigerators full of food, and we had wash machines and dryers, and we had dishwashers and garbage compactors. Back then they had garbage disposals and stuff like that, and so I didn't know projects, you know what I'm saying? But my first place was a project. When I got my first place, it was Sunnydale Projects, and
Oh,
to
Sunnydale
me
Projects.
to me it was a mansion. It was mine. It was only mine. I would thank God that I had my own place, but I knew that wasn't my destiny. So I always had a 5-year plan. So I made sure in 5 years I had my next plan. So I told myself by the time you turned 5, I wasn't gonna be in Sunnydale no more. So I put a plan in place that by the time you turned 5, I was getting the heck up out of Sunnydale, and
No,
that's
that's
what I
right.
did. And every 5 years, I made sure I made another level up, not down. You know what I'm saying? So I made sure when I got my first apartment, Everything in my apartment was rent to own. Cause remember back there they had rent to own. That's what I rented. Everything in it. I had a washing machine and dryer, a swivel based TV, furniture, y'all bunk beds, my beds. I made sure everything I had, and I furnished everything, and I paid for it all. So I owned it all. Everybody want to know why? Because it's mine, and I owned it. And that's how. And from that point on, I paid everything I had off. I always had good credit. I always took care of myself. I always made sure I had everything I needed, and I never had to worry about nothing. From that point on, I've been wiping my own butt. And I've been trying to make sure that y'all could learn how to do the same.
So did you sell drugs? Did you?
I sold drugs. Well, I dated somebody that sold drugs, and of course, if you're around somebody that sells drugs, you learn to do it. You know what I'm saying? Before crack came out, we were selling quarter teas. We used to do that. I don't know if you know what that is. That's a powder and a little white little fold up. Selling quarter teas.
That's back in the 60s and 70s.
Sold quarter teas. I sold that. I did that, and then I learned how to rock. Came up with it's quicker to do it this way. We started rocking it up and selling it that way, and yeah, I sold that. I did that. I did whatever I had to do to put food on the table and make sure y'all had something to eat. And then I realized that's not I had boys, and I realized that my boys didn't have no role models because all the men in my life was gangsters, thugs, and killers. And I didn't want that for my sons. I didn't want prison or death to be y'all destiny. So I had to make a change. So I changed. I got a job. I furthered my education. I made sure that y'all to see me going to work every day. Y'all didn't even know nothing about me hustling. Y'all never seen me hustle nothing but a job. I made sure of that because I wanted to make sure y'all worked and that y'all can have everything y'all want without looking behind y'all back going to work every day.
Right. So because you worked a few jobs back then, huh?
Yeah,
I did. Where you worked at?
Well, let's see. Well, I've been working ever since I was 13 years old. I worked summer jobs.
Okay.
I used to work summer jobs. Me and my cousin used to come to work with me every day. My cousin Lawanda, she used to come to work with me every day. I used to work summer jobs. I used to work in daycare at a school. I used to be a teacher's aide at a school. Go to school to help with the kids at something for after school program. And then, after I came back from Job Corps, I started bartending. I wound up being a bartender. I bartended for 13 years. I did that, and I started in the midst of bartending, dealing with my customers that would come in bartending, talking to them because all of them was retired and had good jobs, and talking to them, they laced me with how to move further, and they all talked me into doing something other than bartending, getting a pension and doing stuff that's gonna get me to the next level. And I listened because when you listen, you grow. You know what I'm saying? And I started driving cement trucks. I got into this program. I was trying to get my Class A license because I always wanted to drive big rigs. I always wanted to drive big rigs. I always wanted to drive big trucks. And I was talking to one of my customers at the bar, and he told me, he said, Chris, you can get your Class Bs and make just as much money as you make with a Class A, and you ain't got to work as hard. And I listened to him. He told me about this program, and I got into this program, and they trained me how to drive cement trucks, ready mix trucks. And I got into that program, so I started driving that. I got my Class B license, and I started driving that. And then once I got my Class B license and started doing that, I was making almost $45 an hour, but it was seasonal. It was weekly. I loved it. It was seasonal, and I started saying, and so I signed up for Muni. Next thing I know, I was working for Muni. I did 20 years there. And here I am, 60 now. You know what I'm saying? Life just
flew by. So I want to rewind a little bit, right? Because I always want to know this about just women in general. When you first gave birth to my older brother, and you first hit motherhood, parenthood, what was the first feeling you had when you first seen Derek born? First time becoming a mother. Like how was it?
You know, I used to suck my thumb. I don't think I ever tell anybody that. I used to suck my thumb. When I gave birth to Derek, that was the last day I ever sucked my thumb.
Is that right?
So it grew me up. Um, it was I knew then that I had to, how can I say, I had something to breathe for.
Right.
You know, that I had to make sure that I had to protect him. I had to make sure that he was safe. I had to make sure that he was clean. I had to make sure that he was fed. I had to make sure that he was okay. Although, because he was the first grandchild, the first nephew, the first cousin, the first everything. I didn't have him much because everybody kept coming and getting. So nobody never, my mama kept him, Herman kept him, Clintus kept him, everybody kept him. So I didn't, he was the first of everything. So, but I knew that I had to protect him. And, eventually I thought, he needs somebody to play with. I had no idea all y'all was going to do was fight all the damn time. But, there it is.
Oh, that's right. So, as a black woman, what what some trials and tribulations you had to go through growing up in the projects?
I didn't grow up in the projects, but I grew up in the hood. if you want to call Lakeview the hood.
Yeah. Like, what were some trials and tribulations? Was it a lot of races back there? Back then, was it?
I'm sure it was racism, but personally, I didn't go out of my element to experience it. I didn't hang around where Caucasians was. I didn't go to white people's neighborhoods, and I didn't go where they were, so I didn't really bump heads with them. It's just like the gay. It was gays going on, but I didn't bump heads with it because I wasn't where they were. I stayed in my lane. I did what I did, not what they did. So I wasn't witness to a lot of it. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't do a lot of things. Me and my cousin, we kind of like stayed in our own little circle. So we kind of just like stayed together, me and her. We didn't really do a lot outside. We didn't do a lot of stuff. We did stuff, but we didn't do criminal stuff. We wasn't criminal girls like some of these girls today. We wasn't robbing nobody. We wasn't fighting. We wasn't running up on girls fighting. We didn't do those type of things. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. We laughed, had fun, we kicked it with each other. We were sheltered because of who my family is, because of who my brothers were. My brother Herman used to tell me all the time, you don't know who the fuck you, oh, I'm sorry. You don't know who you are. You don't know who you are. You know what I'm saying? You act like you don't know who you are. So I had to be careful of what I did and who I was around and who I came in contact with because I had to always remember who my family was. I couldn't do a lot of things. So a lot of stuff I was sheltered from. A lot of people for a long time didn't even know I was a Malone because I wasn't exposed to it because I wasn't allowed to be exposed to it. You know what I'm saying? And then when I would meet people who found out who my brothers and stuff was, once they start acting like, oh man, this is so and so's sister, I backed off because your only interest in me is who my brother was or who my daddy is or who, and so it made me be really picky about who I conversated with. I gave time to.
Oh, that's right. I wanted to ask you, out of you and your 5 brothers, and your brothers and sisters, the 5 of y'all, what's the relationship with y'all today? Like, are y'all on a good um, end of the stick, or is it not that good? Is it you wish it was better? You want it to be better? Um, is there anything you want to say to them to make it better, or anything like that?
Well, I'm gonna say this. For me personally, every single one of my siblings I love. I mean, I love with everything that I have running in my veins. And if any one of them right now today pick up the phone and call me, I will always answer my phone. And if they need me, I will always come. Can I say the same about them? I don't know. But because I know who God is, it don't even matter.
Oh, that's
That's
right.
something they have to deal with their God. My God tells me how to treat my brother and my sister. And that's all that I care about.
Right. I mean, as long as y'all can come to some type of mutual ground, and y'all should be able to better yourself for the future, right?
I'm better. They got to better themselves. See, one thing about me is I don't have malice and my heart always forgives. I have a forgiving heart,
Mm.
which I don't even know. I don't even have no reason. I don't even know why nobody would even have a reason not to. I don't have no reason to forgive me for, because I ain't done nothing to nobody. But if anybody got anything, any kind of problem with me, they need to work it out with themselves, because I ain't did nothing to nobody. And if they do have a problem with me, if I did something to anybody to hurt them or to make them feel any kind of way, forgive me for it. I apologize. I don't know what it is. But whatever it is, I ask them for forgiveness, and I ask God to forgive me for it. Like I ask him every day that I wake up to forgive me for whatever I did yesterday that wasn't pleasing to him.
Right, right. Well, we got that out there. But okay, so I want to go back again. I want to ask you a couple questions about me, things that I couldn't remember when I was younger. Like how was I as a kid?
Bad as hell.
Like um, where I was born at, like what hospital I was born at, if you remember.
Children's.
Children's in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we moved to what, Sunnydale.
Yeah.
We, okay, and then how long did we live in Sunnydale again?
Till you was 5. When you was 5, I moved to San Diego, and my mama kept you for a year and a half, or something like that, and I came back and got you. We moved to Shoreview, remember?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I remember living short. So, if you can think back right now, what was like the worst thing I done as a kid? Like
Made me
that made
mad.
you realize that nobody wanted to keep me, as far as like babysitting me or no.
You wouldn't go with nobody else. You wouldn't go with nobody. You wouldn't let nobody keep you. You wouldn't go in. Your auntie had you one time, and you used to always want to go with her. But something happened at her house, and you wouldn't go back. So I don't know if you heard her talking about me or saying something bad about me or whatever, but you wouldn't go back. Um, I remember one time, um, I used to buy groceries, and you had sold all my food. You had cooked all my hot dogs and sold all my links and sodas. You was selling lunches. You remember that?
Yeah, I was a little hustler. I was a little hustler here
You
back
was a hustler. I
then.
knew. I had opened you up a candy store after that. And
Yeah.
then I knew. I told my cousin, I said, this one right here gonna be making some money. He gonna make some money, because I tell you, he gonna be hustling. I ain't got to worry about this one. I believe you and Derek both was good kids. What I saw, but I'm sure y'all was doing stuff behind my back that I still probably don't even know about. You know what I'm saying? I'm sure y'all was getting into stuff that I still probably don't know yet about, and I'll find out later. as time goes on, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But you was just, used to walk into poles all the time, not paying attention. I don't know why you used to always walk into something. Um, but you was a good kid, you know. I don't think y'all was bad kids because I stayed on y'all, you know. I could look at y'all and y'all would shut up. You and your brother. I didn't have all them problems. I could tell you one thing y'all did one time. Me and not me. I had came home from work one time, and y'all wasn't in the house. It had to been like 2 in the morning because I was bartending. And I came upstairs and looked in y'all room and y'all wasn't there. And all them badass kids was over there in the short view circle. And I went in there. I was like, y'all seen that? One of them said y'all was over there. I went over there and they looking at him like, nah, we ain't seen him. We ain't seen him. And I came back in the house and y'all was laying in the bed. So y'all had snuck back in the house, you and Derek, and got in the bed. And I called my cousin and we couldn't do nothing but laugh because we did that one time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like what goes around come around, right? So you wasn't,
wasn't that bad.
yeah, I wasn't that bad, you know.
All right. I want to ask you this too. How do you feel today in your life today, as far as your health and where you at and how far you made it? You know, because your age, you made it to a wonderful age. You know, so far, and we wish you plenty more. We want you to have plenty more. You know, because a lot of people don't get to do this with their mom, and you know. So how do you feel today, and with your health, and where you see yourself going from here?
Today, I give all thanks and honor to God for allowing me to get this far. And I wouldn't go back to no age. I'm glad at the age I am because I made it here. I'm glad that you're prosperous and you're doing good and that you listen. You know, I wish your brother would listen more. But I'm glad that both of my sons, I ain't got to worry about y'all being in prison. Or I'm glad y'all alive. I'm glad that y'all are doing well. I'm thankful for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm thankful for Shakari that she's alive. I don't know where she is. I know where she is, but I don't know where she is. You know what I mean? Um, she's y'all sister, and I pray that one day she comes back into the fold and be a part of y'all life. Um, I just I worry about her, but as far as I'm concerned, God has got me. He got me in a good place. I got a wonderful husband now, and I'm in a good place. I'm just waiting for a couple of more years so I can be totally retired. You know what I'm saying? I'm retired from one job. I'm doing good financially. God is good to me, and I mean I'm in a good place at my age, and I don't look too bad. You know what I'm saying? For
You don't
60.
look bad at all.
For 60, you know what I'm saying? And so I think God has God the glory. God gets all the glory. Yeah.
All right, it's all right. Well, I want to thank you for taking the time out and giving us some input on your life and my life and my brother life. You know, your family and what y'all went through. And you know, I just want to ask you one more question. Is there something you want to say to them, like again, and maybe they can,
Who is them?
your family, just anybody in your family, not particularly your brother. You're like, you know what I'm saying? Because you are a kind-hearted woman, and you're a very forgiving woman. So, you know, is there anything you want them to know or need them to know?
No, I love them. I love my siblings. There's nothing else to be said. I love my children, and I love my grandchildren. And I don't. What I do hope is that my grandchildren, especially my older grandchildren, don't wait till I'm laying in my casket and drop down a whole bunch of crocodile tears. They need to start seeing me now.
Mm, I know that's right. Well, thank y'all for tuning in to the Bo Ghetto podcast.
Thank you.
Here with my mother,
Don't
Christalyn EVE Malone.
don't forget to Christalyn EVE.
Go cop that.
We got hoodies. We got sweats.